What's up YouTube, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and in this video we're going to be comparing the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Samsung Galaxy S7. So a lot of you have been requesting this video, and hopefully it will give you a better idea of whether it's worth upgrading or not. So let's get straight to it. Now in terms of the display sizes, they're the same, 5.1 inches on both here, so that hasn't changed. However, you do have an always on display on the Samsung Galaxy S7. So this is things like the time, your calendar, notifications, which are going to stay always on, so that's going to prevent you from actually picking up the device and switching it on each time. You're going to be able to see at a glance what your sort of updates are, so that's definitely nice to see. And this shouldn't take too much battery either. In terms of resolution, exactly the same, 2560 by 1440, around about 577 ppi pixel density. This is not a bad thing. We don't really need any more pixels at this point in time anyway, and the S6 did have one of the, if not the best display of 2015, so this is not much of a problem that we've not seen an upgrade in terms of resolution here. Now, even though you've got the same display sizes, the S7 is actually a little bit smaller in terms of the height and the width, roughly about a millimeter on both sides, but it is just over a millimeter thicker compared to the S6. Now this is for a few reasons. We'll go into those in more detail a little bit later, but one advantage you do get with the slightly thicker S7 is that the camera doesn't protrude as much as it does on the S6. Now in terms of the build and design, they look very similar. You've got a metal frame with glass panels on the front and the back. Now this was a nice and well received build and design for the S6, and it's been carried over on to the S7. What glass is there? That's still not specified. I believe it's Gorilla Glass 4 on both sides here. Now the S7 actually does have a curved back, so this is similar to the Note 5, so that's a big difference here, and that's going to make it a little bit more comfortable to use with one hand, and it's going to fit in a little bit better. One issue that you're going to be getting with both of these is that they're going to be very slippery in the hand, and also fingerprint magnets, as you must have seen from lots of different videos. There's an easy way to overcome that, and that's with a dbrand skin, and I'd like to thank them for sponsoring this video. If you want to customize the look of your device, then dbrand skins is the way to go. They've got a huge variety of different styles of skins available, and they provide protection for your devices from scratches and fingerprints, but also give them some more grip. I'm going to be leaving a link to dbrand in the description below. They've got loads of skins for the S6, and they'll be having lots for the S7 too. Now one of the advantages that you also have with the S7 is IP68 water and dust resistance. This is something that we don't have on the S6 and we did have on the S5, so it's nice to see this feature return. And as you can imagine, that's very useful. You're not going to have to worry about using your phone in the rain and things, and if you get some water on it, that's not going to be a problem. And you don't have any of those flaps either, so there's no these flappy things that we've had with previous devices. The ports are open and they're absolutely fine to use with water. This does add some weight to the S7, however. It's roughly about 14 grams more compared to the S6. Nothing major, but just something to bear in mind. Now looking at the internals, the S6, you've got Samsung's own Exynos processor in here, and it's been pretty good overall in my experience of using it over the past year. Now with the S7, you also have an Exynos processor, but the newer version, and there's also going to be the Snapdragon 820 potentially for certain markets. Now in terms of performance, Samsung have said that it's going to be roughly about 30% faster in terms of CPU performance, and in terms of graphics performance, it's going to be around about 64% faster compared to the S6. And it also has the Vulkan API, which should really help towards gaming. So in either case, you are going to be seeing much better performance on the S7 compared to the S6, as you would expect. Another advantage that you've got on the Samsung Galaxy S7 is inbuilt cooling. So this should be really nice, and it should help if your processor starts heating up or anything, then it should bring that down and not affect performance. You've got 4 GB of RAM here on the S7 as well, compared to the 3 GB of RAM on the Samsung Galaxy S6. It'll be interesting to see how well the RAM management is this time around. The S6, although it had 3 GB of RAM, it did tend to close lots of apps in the background in my testing. So hopefully this problem will have been resolved with the S7. Now in terms of storage options, with the S6 you've got 32, 64 and 128 GB versions. No expandable storage, which was a huge disappointment for a lot of die-hard Samsung users who have been using Samsung devices for a lot of time, and pretty much all of them did have expandable storage. Now the S7 actually brings expandable storage back, so you've got 32 GB with expandable storage. So this is definitely a nice touch, and it's good to see the return of the micro SD card slot. You may also have a 64GB version for certain markets, but 32GB is going to be the base model across markets. Now moving on to the cameras, the S6, you've got a 16MP camera with an f1.9 aperture, and it's probably the best camera of 2015. It was my overall favorite camera of 2015. Great shots, lots of detail, great colors, and it was praised overall in the tech community. Now with the S7, they've actually gone back a step in terms of the megapixels. This is only in terms of the megapixels, so you've got 12 megapixels. That might be disappointing for some people out there because you are getting a dip in the size of your images. However, as a compromise, you are getting better low light performance with an f1.7 aperture and also larger pixels on the sensor. So this is going to really improve low light images. The S6 did pretty well in low light, but this is going to further improve with the Samsung Galaxy S7. You've also got dual pixel autofocus. This is something that we see on many DSLRs, so this should also improve autofocus on the S7. Nice to see here as well. Now you do have some additional software features such as motion panorama and things. I'm not going to go too much into that because I personally don't find myself using some of those features. Now you do have 4K recording on both devices here, so great to see. And in terms of the front facing cameras, you've got 5 megapixels on both, but once again you've got that low light improvement. So rather than the f1.9 aperture, you've got f1.7 aperture. And the other thing that you also have is the front facing flash. So this is going to illuminate the front display to give you better low light selfies. This is something similar to what we've seen on some LG devices as well as the iPhone 6s. Now moving on to the operating system, you've got Android on both here. However, you've got Android Marshmallow, the latest version on the S7, which is going to come out of the box. Now with the S6, my version anyway still has Android Lollipop on there. I'm not sure when the Marshmallow update is going to be coming, and that's something that you're generally going to find because the S7 is newer. You're going to be getting the updates on the S7 generally first before the S6. Both do have Samsung's TouchWiz UI on top. Now we'll go into the features in more detail in another video, but you are going to be seeing certain improvements here and there. Now in terms of the hardware features, you've got a fingerprint scanner on the home button of both of these devices. Now the S6 had a really nice fingerprint scanner, but it wasn't the fastest out there. Now not sure how fast and how accurate the S7's fingerprint scanner is. We'll have to test that out hands on. One of the features that we've actually not got on the S7 that we've got on the S6 is the IR blaster. So they've actually got rid of this. Wasn't too sure about this yesterday, but I did some more research. If you look at the top of the device, there is no IR blaster. So this is going to be very disappointing for a lot of people I know. And they did this with the Note 5 as well. They got rid of the IR blaster. Maybe they felt that not many people were using it. So just another thing to bear in mind. Now moving on to the batteries, with the Samsung Galaxy S6, you have a 2550 milliamp battery. Now this wasn't too great, to be honest. It started off okay, and with the updates it did start deteriorating more and more, and a lot of people have complained about it. Now with the S7, you actually have a 3000 milliamp battery. Now this is another reason why the device is slightly thicker as well. So this should definitely help, and it's a welcome change that we've got a larger battery, and with the improvements of the processor and things, that should definitely help. Both of the devices have fast charging, which is very useful, and also wireless charging. However, the S7 does have fast wireless charging, so you're going to be able to get faster top-ups using Samsung's charger. So that's a nice touch once again. Now in terms of the pricing, the S7 is going to be coming out around about £570 here in the UK, around about $650 to $700 in the US on release. So you can pre-order it in the next few days, and it's going to be coming out on the 11th of March. Now with the S6, because it's been out for some time, you can actually pick it up for around about £350 here in the UK, just had a look, or around about $450 to $500 in the US. Now this price is only going to be coming down because of the release of the Samsung Galaxy S7. Just something to bear in mind if you're looking for a good deal. So there we have it, the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the Samsung Galaxy S7. So should you upgrade if you've got the Samsung Galaxy S6? In my opinion, overall, it's not worth the upgrade because the S6 is still a great phone. It's still got one of the best cameras out there. It's got one of the best displays out there. The build is also very similar. But if you're somebody who wants the improvements that you've got on the Samsung Galaxy S7, such as water and dust resistance, and also the memory expansion, I think is a key thing. I know a lot of people were not too happy about that, as well as the battery life, then it might be worth going over on to the Samsung Galaxy S7 if you have the money. Now, if you're in the market for a new phone, I would definitely recommend going for the newer version. It's always best usually to go for the newer version because you're going to be getting the latest features as well as the latest updates. But if you're in a bit of a budget, there is no better time to actually go ahead and pick up a great deal on the Samsung Galaxy S6. It's going to be going down and down over the next few weeks. So if you're looking for a bargain, then you're going to be able to pick up a very good smartphone overall with the S6. So that's another thing to bear in mind. What do you think of the S7? Do you think there's nice improvements on here? Drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. If you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe. As soon as the Samsung Galaxy S7 is out in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing some detailed tests, camera comparison, speed tests, all the good stuff that you guys like seeing on the channel. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.